We are past the solstice and into the wonderful, shadier, diminishing sunlight time of year. However, my timing is such that the sunlight's still coming in through the window in front of me. So the gleam and glow upon my forehead is not impending transcendence. And in a little while, it will be gone as the light here returns to a more even state. Well, anyway, I do like this time of year, and the apples are transcendent, as I keep raving about, unlike my forehead. Well, anyway, the thoughts for the week concern devices. Well, the first device to consider is the ill-advised but inevitable PlayStation, property, obviously, of my children, at least as far as ownership is. Possession is 9/10 of ownership, or in this case, 99/100. Well, anyway, so we should be able to watch DVDs and stuff on it as well. Obviously, YouTube and the Netflix and all the rest of it. I mean, it's not PlayStation when you're watching the YouTube on it. I keep trying to tell my kids. Well, anyway, back to the DVDs. Among the immense amount of possessions that traveled with us from the States to Sweden was a notable collection of DVDs. And, well, why DVDs? We have the cloud and all that stuff now. Well, to me, they're like books. You take them off the shelf when you want them, and you put them back on the shelf when you don't, and nothing happens to them. And, no one else is watching them with you, at least as far as I know. So anyway, it's object-oriented lifestyle, strange, archaic. Well, back in the States, the DVD player we had was multi-region, so I could get them from anywhere and watch them there. And that's fine, because a lot of what I wanted to watch was not, wasn't U.S. region. Well, so unfortunately, of course, that DVD player did not travel with us to the States, from the States, because it's inappropriately pronged. So here we ended up with this PlayStation thing, and it's got the little disc DVD player thingy in it, and that would be fine, except we got a cheapo one, previously owned, no options. Get whatever it is, not whatever options you may have chosen from the brand new non-depreciated version. And of course, it can only read specific regions. And so all of these DVDs, or a lot of them, sort of in reverse, are unwatchable on it. Great. So what with putting up the shelves with the DVDs on them and looking sadly at them and ultimately feeling disenfranchised from my possessions and faced with the choice of throw them all out because they're junk and just watch Netflix like a proper person, never mind the fact that when you watch Netflix, you're watching what it wants you to watch, which is irritating. So anyway, for my birthday I received a proper DVD player. Back to low tech, of course. That means you have to unplug the little thingy off the back of the TV and plug in the DVD player one. So there's this back and forth. Funny how that never changes, right? Remember good old cassette tapes and the little portable tape players that we were also happy about back in 1977. And the whole point, of course, was that you had to go chunk and take out, flip and chunk, and often manipulations involved. And back there, and here we are 43 years later, and I find myself going chunk, with all this modern tech. I'm sure there's a thingy you can buy so that you can chunk both of those and just leave them there. So it's another box with its own cord to the TV, but whatever, man. So there I am. All this goes to say that in the last couple of days, I have at last been able to enjoy a DVD or two. And you will probably laugh to know that my first choice for non-kid viewing is something that's on Netflix anyway, but that's not the same. It's not mine. I took pains to own that thing back when I got interested in it. And so therefore it is nice not merely to punch it in on Netflix, but to say, I'm taking mine off the shelf in the packaging that is mine and that I am accustomed to with this object. And I am going to enjoy this in its DVD form that is mine. And what is it? What paragon of cinematic achievement is it? Would it be, some Orson Welles-ish stuff, perhaps an old Star Trek or two, perhaps, something worthy of pop culture regard, I don't know, original bebop, Cowboy Bebop recordings, or perhaps it's, something worthy, my Akira Kurosawa collection. Plenty of things, actually, that would gain me the regard of the viewing audience for mentioning, oh, you have that, you value that. Do you like to rewatch that at your leisure? That's notable of you, Ron. We approve. No, it's basically a bunch of plot with porn, otherwise known as Spartacus, Blood and Sand, and the successive miniseries that followed. Yep, that's what it is. I used to call this my guilty pleasure. I'm not even guilty anymore. This thing's awesome. But bearing in mind that I don't care for Game of Thrones whatsoever. I didn't like it in the books, and I didn't like the snippets that I've seen on TV. Maybe it's awesome too, and I just, will grow up and admit it one of these days. But so far, I haven't liked it. Despise 300. Consider it not only a film that I dislike, but I also consider it execrable. I mean, truly loathsome, a cultural artifact of shame for all involved, and despicable in every possible way. So none of those particular parallels are involved in this. I like this because it is a great story. It is well told. It is fascinating. It is riveting in its drama. And also as an artifact, strangely odd that you are frequently watching never mind near naked, but entirely naked people with or without acts usually associated with that in visual media, acting their parts and saying meaningful, dramatic lines, and the emotional, consequences of the depicted events and actions are important in the story. So I just love, it's proper art. Yes, well, you see the nakedness, it's all part of the art, and all these things that we've heard all these years about everything from, Playboy magazine from before I was born to the, I'm just old enough. I'm well-timed culturally to have been born such that the moment that I'm entering my tweens is precisely the moment when people are, the X designation was produced so that you could watch proper movies that had, naughtiness in them, but it was art. And this designation X was supposed to say this is an okay thing to do. Nobody quite knew that, the grotty trailer park aspect of it would overwhelm that claim within months, actually, historically. But the point was that people have been, chattering about this. And as a comics enthusiast all these years, the high priests of quality in comics in the United States, Fantagraphics, basically financed itself by importing European smut the entire time. So this dialogue to me has been hilarious all this time, and yet here I sit, 10 years after the release of this particular series, lauding it as indeed freaking watchable awesomeness, story-wise, cinematic excellence in every imaginable way. And it's, watching this and someone else comes in and says, hey, how's it going? And you're like, going for the remote, click, click, nothing. All right. So anyways, enjoying my watching this, of course, but also enjoying myself as a risible, object at the same time. What else? Well, again, back to the device in question. It is along with the freaking phones and along with the freaking iPads and all the rest of it, as the parent of tweens today. Wondering, what have we wrought? What are we doing? In a few decades, will people be looking back on the early 2000s and saying, wow, before they got those traffic laws in place, cars were really a menace. Before this universal interest in which side of the road do we drive on, and realizing that these aren't just more cow carts that go putt-putt, these are a different thing. Now we need signage, and now we need serious criminal penalties for specific forms of misuse. We need licensing for the operation of these things. And, your freedoms, and I bought it, so it's mine, and this is a free the country and this and that. And pish posh to you, do it. Perhaps that will come to pass regarding social media and its ilk. And again, in a few decades, people will look back to this period and say, man, what a crazy, messed up, toxic, destructive time that was. And thank God we're, finally culturally recovering from it. How could anybody operate these things without? How could we go driving without traffic laws in place? Can't you believe people didn't realize that when they first made those cars? Is that what people will be saying about social media in just a couple of decades? Frankly, I really hope so. I really, really hope so. I hope this is regarded as a particularly irresponsible and brainless, and anybody could have anticipated that, situation in historical terms, because living it right now, parent-wise, is atrocious. Seeing my own habits deteriorate. And I fought too. I fought. I had the flip phone way longer than anybody else, to the point of being mocked for it all the time. I still am hopelessly inadequate at all of the different multiplicity of platforms and how you interact with them. I look back on my interactions online as a fairly early adopter of community, back when the word actually means community and not some god-awful branded nightmarish, concept that has some other name, but they call community. Anyway, though, I look back on what I did with the Forge and a number of other places. I look at what I'm doing with Adepts Play right now. There are no upvotes. There are no likes. There are no private messages. It has no other function except for the public discourse. And that public discourse is moderated with open rules, and it is moderated publicly without me sending private messages to moderate. So, all that is fine, and it's non-monetized too. You can pay if you want to help keep this thing going. So how successful does it make me in those terms? What cultural impact does it have beyond those who actually interact with it? And what benefit does it bring me? And I think you can guess the answers to all those things. So I have successfully preserved what I think is valuable about human interaction. Infrastructurally, with the things that I do online, and the rewards reaped for it are precisely as Zuckerberg or Bezos or any of those people could tell you. All right, then. So that's pleasant. I think I'll go back to watching blood, gore, and body parts over on Spartacus at some point today. Restore my good mood. And what else? Anything else? Yes, fun with language, right? My favorite part of any language are all those prepositions that you use for modifiers on ordinary verbs. You attach a preposition in some way to give the verb a different meaning, like look out or look up, things like that. So for example, look like in English. In Swedish, the same concept as that latter is ser ut. So it's not the person looking who is being referred to. That verb would be tita. So, tita på something, you're looking at something. Where mirar in Spanish, right? You guys know the verb. Look at in English. In the case of what something looks like, right? It's in Swedish, it's the thing that's doing that. So ser ut, which in English translates to see out. So du ser ut en älg, you look like a moose. So it's significantly different in its construction and in the actual verb used, that it's one of those ones that you really have to get used to transitioning to the other language. And it's a common enough expression, so you learn it very quickly. You use it a lot and encounter it a lot, so you get over it real fast. But it's the ones that you don't encounter as much that can really trip you up. Oh my goodness. På, which in Swedish is on, effectively. But man, if you're walking, okay, we're going to do this in English first, right? Walking down the street, walking on the street. Where are you? I'm on such and such a street. Where do you live? We live on such and such. Well, you say that, vi bor på Tvärstigen, that we live at the crossroads. In Swedish, and it sounds like your house is like is planted on the asphalt, right? Like on seated upon, in the way on the road. And yet other times you do say we are on the road, because you are on the road. It means you're traveling on the road. So you only say it when you're literally like, on top of it. Well, so it's real different. You say different things for saying where you live or what particular way or road that you are walking next to when you are traversing by foot alongside a road. So all these things are different, and those are the ones that'll trip you up a lot, and people will definitely sort of give you the oh right, he's learning, sort of look, or kind of puzzle over what on earth they think you're trying to say. Well, anyway, ran into that a few days ago, and it was amusing and educational. So letting you know that process continues. I'm not necessarily any longer just trying to remember the freaking word for a thing. Now it's all about usage and the amusing little upsets that you encounter through those wacky prepositional bits. All right. Hope all is well. Take care. Good luck with all things, particularly people in the States, and see you later.